My name is John Medeiros. I'm the managing editor of New Tribe magazine. And on the second version of the Blackfoot graphic novel, I was asked to kind of work with it to create the new version of it, which we did through photography, turning into animation. So I became the creative director for the Blackfoot graphic novel Part 2, and now I'm working on the Blackfoot graphic novel Part 3, which is a storyline based on a zombie apocalypse happening here in Calgary, and 4 young Aboriginal youth have to fight their way through the zombie population in Calgary, as well as kind of learn some lessons along the way to get to a safe environment. So the biggest reward of this project is seeing the youth interaction, that someone's actually involved in providing a resource for them to become engaged in preserving their language and doing it in a way that becomes interesting to them, in this regards, a graphic novel. They really enjoy kind of seeing something they enjoy, comics, graphic novels, written in their own language and learning their own history as well. The details of the new Blackfoot graphic novel that we're working on is basically this. The story arc is about Calgary, tomorrow. The title is called Tomorrow. Really, people wake up, there's a snowfall, and based on all the pollution, the environment, it's become toxic. And the majority of the population of Calgary wake up to become zombies. In that premise, there's 4 youth, Aboriginal youth, and they kind of go through the survival mode to get outside of Calgary into what they perceive is a safe haven. The characters are 2 male, 2 female, and throughout the bigger storyline of the zombie apocalypse, there's also smaller storylines, subplots, that deal with violence towards women, racism. We try and kind of put as much into that story as possible to kind of engage different demographics of youth to make sure everybody is kind of represented and interested in the storyline. So the Blackfoot graphic novel program that we're working on basically has 3 main components. There's the graphic novel itself, which is used photographs to create animated panels to tell an interesting story that engages youth in learning their own language while also telling something that's entertaining. There's an animated version of the graphic novel, which is basically the same thing, is taking the panels of the graphic novel, turning it into an animation so that they can hear the storyline as well as read it on the book. And also what you're seeing now, the documentary of the whole process of why we're doing this and the making of the graphic novel.
My name's Leanne Ireland. I'm the executive director here at Usay. I've been here since 2008. My role is quite diverse. I do everything from funding and daily operations to budgets and cash flows, which I know everyone loves so much. I really work in a strategic way with other community agencies and on a strategic level with community level initiatives, including the Aboriginal Youth Education Strategy at United Way, a collaborative program with Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA of Calgary. And really my role is just to get all the supports possible and understand all of the trends, whether they be positive or negative, facing our Aboriginal youth, and make them into programs that support those Aboriginal youth to live healthy and sustainable lifestyles. And that's really what we do here, and that's my primary role, is just to focus, always put the focus back onto Aboriginal youth and to understand exactly what they need and how Usay can accommodate those needs. This is the 3rd iteration of the graphic novel, and in 2009, I believe, we started the Blackfoot graphic novel with a different type of format. We sought out funding from Canadian Heritage, their Aboriginal Peoples program, which is, they have a stream that's the Language Fund. And we sought out funding. They have innovative funds for pilot projects and new projects that are really interesting. We focus in this project on language transmission and preservation. So it's really about having the youth preserve the language, but also learn it in a new and unique way. And so the history is really just exploring what are new, innovative ways to try and get youth engaged. And this has been a great project over the last few years of really getting youth engaged in a meaningful and innovative, unique kind of way that they can really relate to. The Urban Society for Aboriginal Youth, or Usay, is a not-for-profit charitable organization that primarily works with Aboriginal youth 12 to 29, and we focus in a variety of different areas, but primarily around empowering youth to live healthy, sustainable futures. And we kind of have several focuses. Arts and action is one of them, and we have several programs that we do in that area, which is the Aboriginal Anti-Racism Program. We have New Tribe Magazine, canvas building, Blackfoot graphic novel would fit in there. And we also have a second stream of programming, which is language programs. And we have the online Blackfoot language programs, we have Blackfoot graphic novel, and we're thinking of developing a series of language programs. Usay also really focuses on establishing programs to address root causes. Root causes could be intergenerational trauma, racism, discrimination, variety of different programs that kind of talk about those issues as well. We've had overwhelmingly positive response from the community regarding the graphic novel. In the past, NISO, the first version of the graphic novel, we engaged only 2 Aboriginal artists to design it, and they designed it kind of just drawings on, with photo integration and stuff like that. So we had limited youth involved. Although that program had overwhelmingly positive response and it turned out really well, we thought that more involvement from youth would be a better way to run the program. And so in the second year, we engaged John, who takes photos for the magazine already, to come up with a new way that we could involve more youth in the project. And that had an even more positive response. And because that program is unique and the way that it's done it is really unique, we've been able to have even non-Aboriginal media coverage and super positive response from the youth in the community. We did a large mail out of the graphic novel, which has had national response from it. Primarily even asking other agencies asking how they can create graphic novels in their communities and to preserve and then enhance transmission of language through graphic novels in their communities, which I think is an outcome that we hadn't anticipated before.
The great thing about the 3 projects we've had so far is the media attention. Starting with the first one, they kind of build up with a few short articles. The second one, called Hunter, has gained a lot of media attention through the Calgary Herald, CBC News. We get actually calls from various news outlets wanting to do stories on it, and that's carrying over into the third one we're doing. It's really kind of going across Canada right now in terms of why we're doing it, who we are as an organization, Usay, the Urban Society for Aboriginal Youth. And we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the media as well. And that's carrying over into different agencies and different communities who are calling us for copies, requesting how we've done it, how can they do it, and just basically some help in how they can create their own versions of a language project that can help preserve the Aboriginal language. The title of the Blackfoot graphic novel Part 3 was going to be called The Reserve, but we learned through the translation process that there actually isn't a Blackfoot word for the reserve. So it's now going to be called simply Tomorrow, which is really kind of when the storyline takes place, is tomorrow. It hasn't been very difficult to get translators. Calgary, Alberta, basically it's called Blackfoot country, so there's a lot of different Blackfoot translators to choose from. So we found a great translator named Paul Melting-Tallow, and he's worked on a great translation for us. So the feedback we've heard so far from the youth, we've had feedback from regular people on the street who have been overwhelmingly positive about the storyline, about the process, about the really about the project itself, why we're doing it, and really the reasons why. And they agree 100% with it, and they love the way we're doing it. They love the storyline. They love the way we're giving it towards themes that youth are engaged with. And also the people that are involved in the actual production of it, they also love the whole process, learning a new field, the storylines, why we're trying to preserve the language, because it's their language as well. And overall it's been, I would say, 100% positive. And put your hands like this. No!
Okay.
But face me. Face me. Yeah. Like I'm attacking you. I'm going to attack you. So you're going to have to push me away. Yes. The number of Aboriginal youth involved in Blackfoot Graphic Novel 3, basically overall will be about 30 people. And that includes the actors who will be turned into animated characters. It includes graphic designers. It includes the Usay back-end staff who are supporting the project. Overall, there'll be about 30 Aboriginal youth who will be actively engaged in creating the finished product.
I think that the Blackfoot graphic novel fits in well with Usay's existing programs because we do a lot of publications and artwork already. We focus a lot on how youth can be engaged in learning about themselves and learning about their culture through art. And this is just another kind of version of that. The great part though, and which makes the graphic novel unique, is that it's in Blackfoot language. And there's just so few resources in our community that focus on native languages and really have youth engaging in a way that's with the language, which is a really important part of this project. So I think in that way the graphic novel has a really cohesive fit with the rest of Usay's programs.
I think the biggest successes of the project is basically the youth interaction we've had engaging them into the project. So getting actors involved in the storyline, the animation version of it, the translation of it. It's really about seeing the reaction they have in that, hey, people are actually doing something to help preserve the language. And that's it's very gratifying to see. I'll go through and make you into an animated person, see how it all looks and go from there. But it was great, you did a great job. And,
the future of the graphic novel, I hope, will continue. We initially always thought that this would be a series of graphic novels that would create almost like a resource library. And the more positive response and the better we actually get at creating the graphic novel, the more that vision, that original dream of creating that digital library and that graphic novel library and all those Blackfoot language resources, it becomes closer and more achievable. So I think it's really one of those projects that we can continue into the future and find funding for to make sure it's strong and really a key part of what we do here at Usay.
Every program that Usay creates and runs, we really try to make sure that the youth are being given an opportunity to help make their futures healthy. And we really believe that language is a strong component of that, because your culture is just tied in with your language. And if you lose that language, then you lose a certain amount of your culture. So in order to kind of help make healthy future generations, you need to sort of bring it back to the beginning kind of thing to help them just reconnect and re-engage with their culture and their community and society, and just, you know, learn to move forward in a healthy way.
I think that the Blackfoot graphic novel is a really good tool to use for the youth, just because they're already reading the graphic novels, they're already, watching media, so they get to pop the CD in and watch the animation and learn about how it was made, because they're already on the computer half the time anyway. So I think it's really great, it's fun, it's exciting, it's not boring and school-like. So my son responded to the Blackfoot graphic novel really great, actually. He picked it up because it was shiny, so he started flipping through the pages. He saw that he recognized a couple people, then he recognized a cousin, so it made him flip through the pages more. I thought it was really great, so he brought it to school to bring to his Aboriginal study group and shared it with that many more people, and they realized they recognized people, and then they started, using words back and forth, and it was, he came home speaking a couple of the words, and I was really proud of him.
My grandparents went to residential school, and while they're in the residential school, they were taught not to speak their Blackfoot language during their time in residential school. And when my grandmother had my mom, she didn't teach my mom Blackfoot because she was taught in residential school. It was bad. It was just bad. And so my mom does not know Blackfoot, and she took me off the reserve to Calgary, and I grew up in the city of Calgary, and my mom and my dad has not taught me the language because the way that they were brought up talking Blackfoot was bad. So that's why I don't know the language now, but I want to know it, and this is why I think Usay in the Blackfoot graphic novel is a good idea. For people like me that don't know the language, it helps us, it makes us feel like it's okay to speak the language again, to learn, to be proud of who we are, of our traditions and our language. So Usay, by doing this graphic novel, I think it's a really good idea, and people like my age and younger will help them speak the language again.